What's up everyone? In this video we are talking about trigger words that increase your chances of getting hired for freelance work. If that's something you're interested in, stick around. For those who don't know me, I'm Lex DeVille, and on this channel we help people escape corporate prison and build a freelance empire. We share lots of freelance writing tips and tutorials, so if you're new, consider subscribing. In today's video we are talking about trigger words that you're going to put into your proposals, your cold emails, and other places that might make you stand out a little bit more from other people. And as we're going to be talking about this, we're going to be running a flash deal today, by the way. This is Flash Deal Friday for now. We're testing a new idea. So you will see mention of that in this video at a later part of the video, and there will be a link in the description below for those who want to check that out. It's a 24-hour deal. It will be running for 24 hours, and during that 24-hour period, you can have access to that deal. Once that 24 hours is up, it's gone. All right, so let's talk trigger words. You've got all of these different industries that you can work in, and this, by the way, this does not just apply to writing. This applies to any type of skill that you might offer. So we're just looking at industries here. That industry could be anything. It could be real estate, it could be fitness, it could be travel, whatever the industry is for. It could be finance. We want to look at the trigger words that are going to be words that compel people to respond within those niches. So we're talking about industries. Let's say you wanted to, let's do this from the perspective of a writer, because they're going to be the ones who would really most need this. But you're a writer, you want to write for the supply chain industry. So you know a little bit about supply stuff. And whenever you apply, and whenever most people apply, first of all, they're already starting from a place of doing incorrect things. They're starting off with, I'm whatever, Jaleel from wherever, and I have a bachelor's degree in this thing, and I have 10 years of experience doing this thing, and the client doesn't care. You already know that if you've been watching my videos. So whenever they're talking to these people, once they get past that, they just keep going on and on about themselves and their experience and stuff like that. And what they don't do is, because they're usually generalists, because they don't niche down, they don't pick an industry, they don't specialize in any way, shape, or form, they don't hit the trigger words that will make these people want to respond. There are certain trigger words anytime you send out any kind of message to anyone in any industry that are going to, when that person reads between the lines, that person is going to say, this guy knows his stuff, or at least this guy seems to be neck deep in the industry. So you're writing for a supply chain company, or you want to. That's what you want to write for. You might use certain words that are going to indicate that you have experience in this area. Now, you don't need to say that you don't have experience. If you don't have experience, just avoid that topic, avoid that subject. It probably won't come up. You can talk about that later on the call, but you want to talk about things, you want to use trigger words like the word logistics. If you're applying to a supply chain job, then logistics is a relevant term. Transportation, shipping, warehouse, DHL, that's a shipping company, packing lists, invoices, arrival dates, trucking. These are all words that would be part of this industry. They are words that somebody who is actively working in the supply chain industry is going to be hearing every day. And the more technical you can get with these terms, the better. So I don't spend all my time in the supply chain industry, but let's say I was applying to a military supply chain job. Then I might talk about a system called PBUS, which is a military supply chain system that nobody outside of military supply is going to know about. And being a supply sergeant in the past, that is going to be a trigger word for somebody who is looking for that skill or for help with that thing. Let's do another example. Let's talk about the wellness industry. So if you were applying to gigs within the wellness industry, and it doesn't matter if you're building a website or if you are writing copy or writing blogs or whatever, when you send your proposal or when you send your cold email or however you're contacting this client, you're going to use trigger words. You're going to talk about things like health. You're going to talk about clean eating. You might tell a story of how you meditated last week. You might mention doing yoga, or that you practice mindfulness, or that you understand different relaxation techniques, or maybe you could talk about breathing exercises book that you read recently. Any of these would be okay within your proposal or within that cold email. You don't need to tell this long elaborate story. You just need to use short sentences and just talk about these things. You want to sprinkle them in. You're just sprinkling these keywords in, and it's going to tell the other person, the client, that you are someone who works within this industry. Let's try the survival industry. So if you're in the survival industry or you want to write for that industry, you might use words like, or even phrases. This can be phrases too. So making fire with sticks, that's something you would do in the survival industry. You could mention if you have any survival training or certificates. You could talk about building a go bag. If you don't know what a go bag is, that's fine. A lot of people outside the survival industry don't know what that is. But you could talk about go bags. You could talk about your CPR training. You could talk about bug out locations. You could talk about types of bomb shelters that you've researched recently. You could talk about any military training you've had or any other training that might apply to that. You could talk about types of knives, or mention something specific about a certain type of gun if this was a survival blog focused on guns. You could talk about Cody Lundeen, who is an outdoor survival expert, and he's not somebody everybody knows, but he's somebody that people in the industry know. So by mentioning specific names like that, that becomes a trigger word, and then the client says, oh, he's mentioning Cody Lundeen. He must know something about survival because this guy only does survival. Cody Lundeen is all about survival and wilderness survival and outdoor survival. So therefore, this freelancer must know a thing or two about survival. So you got to find the trigger words that work with your audience. You got to find the trigger words for your industry. And there are other trigger words we can talk about some other time for your specific skills, but these are just for the industry. You want to find those words that are going to stand out to the client because other people aren't doing this. They don't even think about it. They don't spend time doing a little bit of research, and it takes 20 minutes to come up with the right words if you really dig into a specific industry. And it's just something that makes things stand out. So you want to find the words that are going to work for the industry that you're applying to. And then you want to write things whenever you're writing your proposals or cold emails. You want to use these words within those emails or within those proposals so that when the client reads this, they read a normal, boring proposal, and then they come over and they read your you-focused proposal, and it's got the right words in it. And this makes those words jump off the page because they're looking, whenever I'm looking through somebody for a specific type of job, I'm looking for these trigger words. I'm saying, does this person have experience in this industry? And what experience do they have? And how can I tell that they can really get this job done? Just telling me you have experience in the industry is not enough. You have to use the trigger words because when I see those words, they jump off the page at me because I'm looking for them. And so when I see them, I say, this person has experience, they know what they're doing, they are, at the very least, a person who uses trigger words is more likely to be the right person for the job than somebody who does not. So I'm at least going to give that person an interview and give them a chance to show me that they know their stuff. And whenever you interview, it's kind of funny because in the interview, it's the same thing. In the interview, you can sprinkle in these trigger words, and it reminds the client that you know your stuff, that you know what you're talking about. So you would want to go to the interview armed with some of these. That's pretty much it for the topic. We've got the flash deal to talk about real quick. So the flash deal goes right along with this topic. I've created a PDF for you, and in that PDF, I've done up a whole bunch of industries so that you can see different industries and different trigger words that I might use for a whole range of industries that you might be applying to. So if that's something you want, you've got 24 hours. There's a link down in the description below. You can check it out. Click the link. It'll pop up a window. It'll show you the flash deal for that. And you have 24 hours from the posting of this video to go check that out. Get that deal if you want it. If not, it's gone for good. You will not have another chance to get that. And that's all I've got for this one. Subscribe down below if you want to see more. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I'm Lex to Build. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.